In pregnancy, every patient comes and tells me, Doctor, you don't write a protein powder for me. And I said, you have so much of protein in your diet. Why don't you look inside your kitchen? Do you take a bowl of dal with each meal? Do you take egg whites? Do you take paneer or tofu? Do you do that? Or you are trying to get a shortcut that I just take two,
Scoops of
scoops of
protein powder.
protein powder? No, this is a big problem. Probably either you don't have time or you find it absolutely uncool to cook or whatever. In fact, I tell this to my son also. Cooking is one skill. It's a life saving skill, which every person, male or female, must know this because otherwise you are dependent upon, other things. And like you rightly said, this was a concept which was brought to me by my yoga teacher that you don't need so much of proteins, especially the extraneous protein.
Yes, yes.
People who work out, they say, oh, I need a lot of protein. Of course, you need proteins, but you don't really need to pump yourself with protein. So I'm very glad that you spoke about this. In fact, I would really want you to explain this to me more. This is a very new concept.
Very new concept.
And,
Very new concept.
Excess protein is actually not a great idea.
Especially for PCOS. Especially
All inflammatory conditions in the body.
So this branched chain amino acids stimulates this bacteria called Prevotella. Prevotella.
Okay.
Prevotella.
Okay.
This Prevotella is is increased in proportions in the gut, and this invariably affects the insulin resistance by stimulating the mTOR pathway, mammalian rapamycin pathway.
Wow.
So every PCOS problem has a reason behind it.
Yeah.
So high fat diet, as we talked about, it disturbs the bile acid thing. Excessive protein, BCAA, and excessive carb. This is the main problem. Excessive carb is the main problem. And in one of the paper with PCOS, they said artificial sweetness, where saccharin is known to alter the gut bacteria significantly. Whenever the gut bacteria is altered, then the hormonal problem is also coming in. So what I tell my patients with fatty liver who has PCOS as well is that, see, listen, you have an issue. So you need to be conscious and then need to be really proactive and put your foot down and then say that I'm going to do this.
Absolutely.
I'm going to do this. If not, this is just a vicious cycle that you're not going to come out of it at all. So I say decrease fat, decrease carb, and normal protein in PCOS.
Yes, normal protein.
Normal protein in PCOS. On the top of it, you exactly mentioned about decreasing the stress by using some kind of relaxation techniques. Yoga has been shown to improve PCOS, similar to Avya. And then sleep is one of the main things.
Primary things.
We did there was a study on mice. They gave light to the mice overnight. And this hormonal imbalance that you're talking about happened in 28 days.
Yeah. So there was a study which says that in case you are deficient in your sleep for 2 hours between 10 to 4 window, which is 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. window, 25 days in a year. If you have deficiency of 2 hours of sleep between 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., 25 days only in a year, it classifies you as shift worker and puts you at the risk of all metabolic consequences which a shift worker has. Now, just think of it. It's like only 25 days in a year. In case you're not sleeping, if you're sleeping at 12 o'clock, the damage is done.
Damage is done, yeah. I mean, then it comes back to the brain axis that we're talking about.
Yeah.
The low carb diet, is that you recommend in your practice?
So I, Dr. Pal, tell people to follow the natural Indian diet. This is what we've been also talking, our challenge is for me, for an Indian diet, it's very difficult to say what is low carb and what is high carb. I mean, with a roti and a chawal, can you do that? It's very difficult. So I tell people that every meal of your day should have one cereal, not the American cereal, Indian cereal,
Grain cereal,
one lentil, one fruit, and one vegetable. If you do this, by and large, you are sorted. And all that should be seasonal and local food. I mean, it should not be, expensive like avocados or blueberries, or which you don't get in India. What does an Indian person eat? So if you have a roti, sabji, dal, and a fruit, by and large, this is complete. And this is my simple funda, which I tell to all my patients. And I've seen this. Roti sabji खा के कोई मोटा नहीं होता है. No, it's a fact. Unless and until you're stuffing yourself with 5, 6, 7 rotis. Otherwise, with a normal bland roti, how can somebody get fat?
So in my what I tell my patients is that in the first 3 months. So let's say you are a PCOS patient or fatty liver patient comes into me, and we know that it's insulin resistance. The first 3 months, you have to put that extra effort by calculating the number of carbs per day, see how much you are doing, and try to decrease the carbs.
How do you do that?
So
let's say for an Indian, how will you do that?
So we have diet charts and everything, right? So I say that, first thing I tell them to get a weighing scale. Okay. Not your weighing scale, the food weighing scale. A small food weighing scale. And then I don't ask them to change anything, doctor. I don't ask them to change anything. The first 1 week, I ask them to just write what they are eating per day. That's it.
Oh.
So if you're eating chawal, you need to know how much chawal that you are eating. So you take a small bowl and the exact amount of chawal that you are eating, just put it on the weighing scale. So they will say, okay, 100 grams of carbs. They take a picture, they send it to me. And then then they will send the sabji, they'll vegetables, fruits and everything, right? So in the whole day, they're not even eating unhealthy. They're eating healthy. In the healthy part itself, the carbohydrate content is 300 grams per day. 300 grams per day. And studies have shown that insulin resistance will not be able to handle 300 grams of carbs per day. So it needs to be somewhere around 150 or something like that.
How much does one roti has? How many carbs does it have?
So
a normal average.
Average size roti. They say depending on the size of the roti. So you'll be surprised that let's say a roti will be around 8 to 10 grams of carbs based on if it is small size. It can actually go up to 15 to 20. 15 to 20. So for example, I'm from South, I eat dosa, right? So one dosa is easily 18 to 20 grams of carbs.
Okay. Even though it is made with rice and dal.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. That is the problem. Indian food is very healthy. Extremely healthy.
Very healthy, actually.
Very healthy. If there is no mix of adulteration with processed foods, packaged foods, Western foods, if you're eating only Indian foods right from the start, I don't think they will end up with PCO to start with.
Exactly.
To start with. But when there is an adulterated, contaminated food with processed and packaged, then the Indian food efficacy doesn't work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
So I am damn sure is that if the PCOS patient can go down on the carbs as low as 100 grams of carbs per day or even lower, and they can continue and sustain it for like 6 months to a year, we can close all the IVF centers.
100%. You tell a person to lose weight, she will start spontaneous ovulations.
Yes.
So many times, Dr. Pal, it's so common that IVF also fails. 3 cycles IVF ho gaya, it fails. And then after weight loss, she spontaneously conceives. So that means inherently inside there was no problem. Once that, that hormonal imbalance has been rectified, the ovulations happen spontaneously and people conceive spontaneously. It's so very common. It's just that, how come only in metros, people are facing the problem of infertility? Why in villages or why in olden times, our mothers or grandmothers never suffered from infertility?
All these issues, yeah.
So the ovaries were nicely ovulating and they were happy.